welcome to another episode of Incoming, the vidcast in which I take a look back at my favourite miniature releases of the week. This is episode 10, in which I look back at the releases for week ending the 3rd of July 2009, and as always I'm your host Neil Shuck. Well, it was looking like a fairly bland week until we had a lot of news and new releases right at the back end of the week, so we do have a top 10 for you. At number 10 this week we have a couple of new releases from backers. These are a little bit more unusual. I've not seen any of these before in 6mm, and Pete's actually released some casualty figures. Now, why produce casualty figures in 6mm? And these are great for use as counters in games such as Polymorph, where you're marking units that have been shaken or suffering certain effects of being hit or certain effects of morale. So, an unusual release from backers, and I'm hoping that we'll see some other than British Napoleonic. We'll see some French and other alternative troops. At 9 we have the latest greens from the Assault Group's Conquistadors range. And we saw Crossbowmen and Arquebuses a couple of weeks ago. And here we see some of their latest releases, including a couple of sets of dog handlers, which I'm not 100% convinced by, especially the dogs look a little bit strange. But the armoured Sergeant Man at Arms and definitely the figure of Cortez do look much more the part. Consistent range this from the Assault Group. I'm looking forward to seeing more. At number 8, hey, guess what? It's more artillery. Artisan Designs have just released a new Late War Pack 40 anti-tank gun complete with crew. This is a great looking gun. They were just designed to look so full of menace. And I think that this captures it really well. Great looking crew. Appear to be in winter gear actually, which is slightly unusual, but I do like the look of this model from Artisan. And staying with guns, but just dropping in scale a bit, we have a new release from GHQ. They've just released this Russian 6-pounder for their 10mm Napoleonic range. Not a scale I'm too familiar with when it comes to gaming Napoleonics, but this certainly looks like a nice model. And talking of GHQ and nice models, we switch scales, we switch periods, but we stay with GHQ. For at number 6 we have this excellent looking microscale armour T-72 from GHQ. This is the M1 variant, and this just looks like a fantastic tank. You know by now I'm a bit of a treadhead, and the T-72 was always a classic tank from the 70s especially, so this is a great looking version of it from GHQ. Into the top 5, and hey, it's back to guns. A couple of new artillery releases this week from Renegade Miniatures. These are from their English Civil War range, and here we have a Saker gun and also a mortar. I do like the look of Renegade's miniatures. They have a particular style about them which I find very appealing to the eye, and I think these are two great new releases from Renegade. At number 4 this week we have the first of a couple of new vehicles. Yeah, it's more Russian vehicles from Oberlev Border Suit. Again, I'll say both of these are in 1/48 scale. At number 4 we have the BDM-1, and then at number 3 we have the BDM-2. A couple of fantastic vehicles again from Richard Kemp. I mean, his Russian vehicles have been fantastic over the last few weeks. These are just more of the same. Excellent stuff. And if you weren't thinking of collecting a modern Russian army, why on earth not? These would be great additions to any modern Russian army that you were collecting. So finally my top 2, and a change in period and a slight change in scale. At number 2 we have 28mm Victrix Plastic Highlanders, finally released, and don't they look stunning. I know a lot of people have been looking forward to these for some time, and I think they are well worth the wait. Looking at these painted examples, who would guess these weren't metals? Fantastic stuff from Victrix. They really are holding good to their promise of releasing excellent stuff in plastics for their Napoleonic range, and this only bodes well for the future. And talking of the future, we've got to stay with plastic Napoleonics, and you probably guessed it, my number 1 for this week are these fantastic previews of Perry's Hussars. Start of the week we saw these, and I think they caused a certain amount of uproar. Stunning. Words almost fail you for how good these look. And yes, they are only plastic. French plastic hussars, a whole range of different headgear available. And so with minor changes to the uniform, these will go the whole way through the Napoleonic period. Simply amazing stuff from the Perry twins. Really, what more can you ask for when it comes to 28mm stuff? There is so much exciting stuff to look forward to in the future from the Perrys, with these and the promise of carabiners and cuirassiers. You look back at what other companies like Victrix are promising, and 28mm plastic Napoleonics is becoming more and more difficult to ignore. A great release from the Perrys. Nothing else to be said, really. Fantastic stuff. Well, that's about it for another week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I'll catch up with you next week. Take care until then, and happy gaming. Bye.